Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And which little movie are we covering this week, Mr. Ron?
A little film that probably, actually, realistically, a lot of people have actually never heard of, called Onward.
It's a Pixar movie.
It's a Pixar movie. It was a big deal. It had a lot of trailers and posters, but unfortunately, it opened on March 6th, 2020 on Disney Plus, because at that point, everybody was already shut down for COVID.
Why do I feel like this movie's been out for so... I mean, is it just because 2020 was a decade within itself? I feel like this movie came out in theaters like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's part that and part this movie's trailer, while not a good trailer in my opinion, because I could not care less about this movie when I saw the trailer.
I thought it looked fine. I just didn't want to rush out and see it.
Exactly. Right, which is not the job of a trailer. But yeah. I feel like that trailer was everywhere. So that's probably why.
Miraculously, it made 141 million worldwide, even in the pandemic. So I don't know how that's possible, but it did.
Especially since it released on Disney Plus for free. It didn't. They weren't doing premium yet.
Yeah, that's actually really impressive. So they probably look at it as a pretty good fucking success then, if they got somewhat,
I hope.
I'm sure it cost a lot more than that, just because those Pixar Disney movies that have that much attention to detail paid towards like the animation cost a shit ton to make, but yeah. They're probably still pretty happy with it, because it could have been a fucking disaster, like you said, with it being at the pandemic and everything. And
I felt so bad for cast, crew, production, animation. I felt so bad for everyone, because love it or hate it, there's a lot of work put into this movie.
Oh yeah. I don't know why I thought it came out several years ago. I do not typically pay very close attention to animated movies in general. Like almost all the animated movies I've watched the past few years are ones that Ron's like, no, you got to watch this one. It's really good. And I really enjoyed this one, so I'm excited to talk about some Onward.
I think this one is interesting. I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, because what happened is I had Jeff over for the first time, and we got drunk and played some Dark Souls. But before that, while we could still remember things, we actually watched Onward together for Jeff's first viewing.
Yes.
But, like I think I said at the end of the last podcast, I was hoping you would watch it again, because I think this movie, a lot like Book of Eli, changes a lot on the second viewing.
Yeah, and I did watch it a second time leading up to this.
Yeah, because it changed a lot for me. So
because like you said earlier, your reaction to it up front from like the trailer was not one of interest, because you didn't like the trailer. I imagine what happened was what even more so adds to this thing that you're talking about, like on the second viewing, is you probably watched it reluctantly just because you saw it and were playing it for your kids, I'm assuming. Is that what happened?
The first time I ever played it was for the kids, and even while watching it, I couldn't care less. I thought it was subpar. I didn't think it was mediocre. And we're going to go into full spoilers, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it's not really a reveal, I guess it's more of a revelation.
Yeah.
When you hit that point, which is right at the end of the movie, the entire movie clicks into place for you. And I just remember sitting on my couch like, in that moment, and then bawling like a baby.
It really does recontextualize everything. Although yes. I will say, I actually liked it quite a bit on the first viewing. I didn't need the like, it's not really a twist, but the thing that you're referring to.
Yeah.
I didn't need... I obviously like the movie overall once you get to that point, and you have that, that kind of different way that you look back at the plot elements and how that they combine into what this movie's theme is, which I think this movie's theme is very beautiful, and I'm really happy this movie exists. It has a lot of heart, and one of my notes that we'll talk about here in a bit is I think this does probably the best job any Disney or Pixar movie has done at conveying its theme out of anything over the past few years, outside of probably Moana. I think Moana does an equally good job of conveying its theme of, growing up and parents needing to let their kids venture, to kind of, find themselves. And I think Moana also did an excellent job.
I agree.
Also, I basically at this point, because they're kind of, I know they're different teams and different people, but I kind of have just merged Disney and Pixar together as one studio in my brain. So if I ever say
I've
one
kind of done
thing
the
is,
same. Yeah.
if I ever say one thing is Pixar and they're actually Disney, just know that that's why I just kind of see them as the same company now.
Yeah. We're well aware. We just can't help it, especially since they help produce and distribute Pixar movies, and Pixar animates Disney movies, and that's kind of their deal. It's weird. They're like separate companies, but they're like symbiotic. They're actually a really interesting case study, I think. And honestly, I think that happened before the Sony Spider-Man stuff, and I don't know how easily we would have gotten Spider-Man in the MCU if they hadn't already had experience working out deals like that.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, and negotiating that way, thinking that way, getting that kind of climate.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to go ahead and apologize for what my voice probably sounds like. If I sound like I'm choking, I kind of am. I had a smoothie that had some mango in it, and I swear to God, mangoes are like peanuts. They just kind of stick in your throat, and I drank that right before we came up here to record. So,
well done.
Yeah, it was great.
Do we need to take 5 so you can go get like an additional drink to
nope,
wash down your mango?
I've got one here, but also like peanuts. It doesn't seem to be helping, so...
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
It'll be great.
So everyone is prepared for, but I mean, that's what you come to Screenplay Rewind for, is shit tier quality.
I'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it. He's not gonna fix it in post. So nope. why don't you get? So before we, delve deep into our notes, why don't you just give like a quick little, snippet of the plot synopsis, just so people can kind of know what we're talking about as we dive in.
Okay, so this movie is kind of aimed at the D&D crowd a little bit. Yeah. It's set in like basically the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and they don't explicitly say that. What is it? World of Yore or something like that? Time of Yore, whatever the game is in the movie is essentially Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like, what if the world of Dungeons and Dragons advanced far enough technologically that it became modern day and magic kind of faded away and all of that? And that's kind of the macro scope of everything.
Also, it's very Tolkien.
Yes.
Even the font of fucking like literally everything in sight is that kind of Lord of the Rings font that, like his elvish kind of like squiggly font, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it's like everywhere.
Yeah. So the family really that we focus on is the Lightfoots, and they're a family of elves, and sadly the father in this family passed away before one of the brothers was even born, and while the other one was very, very young. So the movie focuses on this family unit of 3, and the mom is doing, I think, is portrayed as doing a very damn good job for what the cards that she's been dealt, right?
Yeah, she's awesome. She seems like a great mom.
I was thinking about it. My favorite part of this movie out of everything is the fact that even though this movie is about Ian, the youngest child, kind of, I've lost the word. Regret's not the word, but hating the fact that he grew up without a dad and kind of being obsessed almost on a Bruce Wayne level with his dad. The movie is still not, oh, woe was me, my parents are dead, I'm Pixar animated but kind of a Disney character, where's my parents, I miss them. It doesn't do that, even though this movie on some level is kind of about his dead dad, right? They strike an interesting balance. They walk a line with it.
It influences their characters, but not the plot line, which is like a very fine distinction, which I totally agree. I think really adds to it and lets you get more invested in the characters. Because that's like one of the points I'm going to make later in a note that I have once we get kind of like the, kind of necessities and basics out of the way first up front, is just like how character driven this fucking movie is. And It's so character driven, and I love that about it. And by the end of it, like, you know, like Ron and I are grown ass men, just like, oh, it's so sad, just fucking
My
crying.
heart is so full.
Oh God,
it's so full. It hurts.
it's so beautiful.
So that's kind of what's going on, and the curveball that is thrown is it's Ian's 16th birthday. Like I said, he's the youngest, and when both children were over 16 years old, the father had left instructions to the mother to give them a gift he left. She has no idea what it is, and it turns out the gift is a wizard staff, which, by the way, one of my favorite quotes in the movie is, "Dad was a wizard. Your dad was an accountant." Like, this is the world we are dealing with, people. So
Yeah.
but he left behind a phoenix gem and a staff and a spell that he created that will allow him to come back for 24 hours and visit his children and see the men that they have grown into at this point without him.
Yep.
So it's already very like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, we're already starting down that road. But, yeah, and then the spell does not go according to plan. We get Dad from the waist down, and that is it.
Giggity.
You're right. The only parts that matter.
Have you ever considered what is happening on the other end? Like,
I have considered
because
that.
that has to be. He's just like a fucking torso, dude. That has to be horrifying, right?
Yeah, like he can't. He clearly can't hear them. He doesn't know where they are until they tap his foot around. So it's not like there's a soul there and the upper half of his soul is there and looking around and we just can't see or interact with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he's been transported from somewhere else, but only half of him. So somewhere else there's just the top half of him sitting somewhere on the ground. Like, do I need to pee? I don't even know. Like,
yeah. I just thought about that like that on this viewing, and I was like, huh. On the other end of this portal is a horror movie. It's like it's like fucking In the Mouth of Madness is happening on the other end of this Onward portal.
Oh my God. In the mouth of Onward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to Weekend at Bernie's our way on a mythical quest to find a brand new Phoenix gem, which are rare, so we can complete the spell and try to get some time with our dad. The clock is already ticking. From the moment the spell was cast, it was 24 hours.
Yeah, we have to reverse In the Mouth of Sadness happening on the other end of the portal.
I like when he's like, oh, I messed it all up, and now Dad's going to be legs forever. And he's like, well, not forever.
Ever. Oh, let's talk about the cast real quick before we continue. People need to know. Okay, so the youngest son, who is just turning 16 and is the protagonist. Ian Lightfoot is played by Tom Holland to perfection. The older brother is played by Chris Pratt to perfection. And I really like Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the mom.
Madam Hydra?
She's great. Julia Louis-Dreyfus
is making a
crazy.
comeback.
Well, she's been on the comeback ever since, like, Veep was huge for her. She's been back for several years now, but I just never watched that show, so we're now getting to see her pop up in other stuff, you know, like her voicing in this. And,
because Veep ended, right?
I think it ended, like, last year, pretty recently.
Okay, so she's been available now. That's why she's popping up everywhere.
Yeah. Let's see. Octavia Spencer plays the Manticore. Mel Rodriguez plays Colt Bronco. And they have a few other. Obviously, John Ratzenberger has to be in it because it's a Disney Pixar film. But those are your heavy hitters. Yeah.
Kyle Bornheimer. Bornheimer is a last name that fits in this world. I just want to put that out there. He's the dad.
It is more Tolkien than his actual Lightfoot last name and the characters.
Wilden Lightfoot. Which, oddly enough, so they just Weekend at Bernie's the dad around, right? But
I love the physical comedy with the top half.
The physical comedy with the dad in general, right? Like when Barley gets shrunk and he's tapping around with his foot and feels him and he just freaks out and falls over. Like, they do so much with just the lower half of Dad and get so much across. It's kind of amazing.
It's insane how much they made the legs likable. Like, how is that possible?
Like, you kind of feel the same way Ian does when he finally sees the dad and everything. You're just kind of like, oh my God, I'm finally seeing the dad for the first time, same as him. Like, you kind of get that feeling because he's very much a character, and you forget about him the times they want you to, and you love him the times they want you to.
Yeah, he's great.
It's very well.
The characterization of just every single person down to the supporting cast is just all like just fucking dude. Yes, one of the best action sequences of the past 10 years is the fucking pixie duster highway chase, and I will hear nothing to the contrary. Ron, it is immaculate.
You got a problem, Shades?
You'll never be ready. Merge. I think that every time I merge on a 169 in Tulsa now, dude, it's like, you'll never be ready. Merge.
Oh, don't worry. They'll never be able to pick up the bikes. Oh, they are strong.
The delivery, dude, is so good. So good.
And that small voice helps.
And just the way that Chris Pratt just plays this incredibly likable older brother, and Tom Holland could not have been picked better. Like, Tom Holland just has this characteristic to his voice that he can convey so much meekness that works so well for Peter Parker and works so well for Ian Lightfoot here, that he just sounds so unbelievably insecure, but not in an annoying way, like an endearing way. And I don't know
how he does that.
How he does it, but every role he does it perfectly.
And he seems to be really good at, like, what is it, naivety, like being naive about things and everything. He seems to be able to channel that very, very effectively.
Yep.
God Chris
damn, dude.
Pratt in this. Is this one of Chris Pratt's best performances?
I think it is.
Is this his best performance?
It's so likable. I mean, obviously, like, the one that you can't not see Star-Lord, but there's a lot more depth to Barley in this,
his
to be honest.
His backstory is the same as Star-Lord. It's just his dad and not his mom.
Yeah, it's funny, just like, there are a lot of callbacks to, I think, Chris Pratt and Star-Lord, you know, they were probably added pretty late in the movie production once they knew they had Chris Pratt. Right. You know, like with the mixtapes, and there's so many little nods.
I never even considered the mixtape.
Yeah, and then, like stuff like
bitch.
Stuff like we'll get to that. stuff like that just has to be Star-Lord in jokes, right? Like, that's just way too coincidental.
Gotta be, because this is a Pixar movie, but it's kind of tangentially in the Disney family. We got a guy that's a big Disney star over there tangentially through Marvel.
Two of them.
And Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be an in-joke. But the relationships between all the characters are great, I think, especially the two kids and the mom. I really like the back and forth that Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Chris Pratt have all the time. Like, when she steps on one of the soldiers to the board game, and she just opens his bedroom door, and all this, like, metal music comes blaring out, and she just throws it in there, and it's like, keep your soldiers off my territory, or our countries are going to war.
Yeah. She also just, like, casually suplexes her fucking 20-year-old son in the living room, which is pretty badass.
He does jump her. In her defense, but then she just flips him over, and he's just like, "All right, mom." Like,
yeah,
and then she turns from that to we had the scene where she sits down with Ian as he's like sewing the hoodie back up, and she's all like tender and motherly, and just that same morning, she flipped her son over her shoulder.
Yeah.
Like,
I am a warrior, or whatever she says.
Yeah, I am a mighty warrior. Yeah.
Yeah. I love this. Dude, within like 5 minutes, these characters are so fucking likable that you're just kind of in. And also, I just love all of the random little Tolkien and D&D tidbits they have too, just like the fact that their dog is a fucking Japanese dragon.
Yeah.
And he just has this derpy look on his face, and I want him so bad.
His squeaky toy is a little farmer plushie. It's got a little pitchfork.
So good. What's his name? I think they call him Blazy. I think that's the dog's name. I love the dog.
And I like Colt Bronco. I like the way they introduce him.
Oh yeah, dude. Expert use of camera angles in so many scenes in this movie, dude.
Barley, barley, barley. And it's like, it looks like he's riding a horse, and then he comes out around the car and he's a fucking centaur.
Because the misdirects with the camera angles are like a physical comedy in their own right. It's so cool the way that it's used. It's like, man, this movie is just like, I want to read the screenplay.
Yes.
And I know this was, we never even talk about, okay, so just real quickly, we talked about the cast and everything. I always talk about and give credit to like the cast and crew and everything. Okay, director is Dan Scanlon. This was based off an original story and screenplay by Scanlon himself, Keith Boonen, and Jason Headley. And I get the impression this movie was probably in development for several years. Because usually when you have a movie that has like this well constructed of a theme, like such likable characters, there's so many fucking callbacks and like Chekhov's guns and stuff.
It's thorough. It's very thorough.
There's so much like clever use of stuff that is ostensibly like a joke in real time and just a throwaway thing that doesn't be like Chekhov's air conditioning unit, where they end up they use the fucking like overpowered air conditioning unit in Guinevere in Barley's van in combat against the fucking pixie dusters, dude. And like, you go back and you watch it a second time, like to your point earlier about how you like it better the second time.
Left.
There's so much just expert use of setup that you don't realize is setup. Yeah, love that.
You're talking about the thoroughness and completeness of the script. And what that harkens back to me is like Baby Driver and like Knives Out, how those scripts are so airtight. Yeah. And those are movies that we know from interviews. Baby Driver was in his head for what, 12 years before it hit the screen or something? I think Knives Out was something like that. Like it was, even if it wasn't on paper, it was like it was in their heads as they were writing it.
Yeah, to our point, so the most recent movie that Scanlon had directed before this one was Monsters University for Pixar, and that was in 2013.
Wow.
So this movie has been probably rumbling around in his head for, 7 probably years before that, because usually the way that these Pixar guys work, and this is exactly what happened with Dan Scanlon, is these animators and directors and stuff like Scanlon, and it's happened with several other people there. They go and do like a throwaway Cars sequel or a throwaway Monsters Inc. sequel like this, Yeah. And then that gets their foot in the door to be able to, bring forth their original ideas that they really want to do, like Onward. Like this feels like a passion project for him and the other writers. It
usually also builds relationships, because usually you see like animators or storyboard people or whatever come over from other projects they've worked on together. Like you can tell around the water cooler he's been talking about this idea, right? Like you get that feel. I also get the feel that this is not someone who just had this idea out of the blue and did a Wikipedia dive on Dungeons and Dragons and wrote a movie. I feel like this is someone that grew up playing D&D, probably grew up reading all the Tolkien stuff. Like swords and sorcery is probably this dude's life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guarantee you this man fucking DMs D&D on like Saturday nights with buddies that he's known, since like fucking high school.
Who's who of Pixar and Disney people.
Dude, oh my god, could you imagine being a fly on the wall of the fucking D&D campaign of like all of the Pixar Disney higher ups and directors and shit? Dude, that would be
They would each be a movie in their own right.
That would be I'm getting like I don't even like really like playing D&D that much. I would play the fuck out of that campaign, dude.
Okay,
holy shit.
So this was a thought that I was thinking about all day today that I was going to kind of save for the end, but this is a perfect time to bring it up.
Okay.
I desperately want a sequel to this movie, whether it uses these same characters again or not. Because I think this world is so complete and so whole.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
I think that you could just take the world of Onward and make even a series of movies, like an anthology of movies set in this world, if you wanted to.
It's so great.
My God, the name of the gas station was Swamp Gas, and there's a Swamp Gas tanker truck on the highway scene.
I love all of the little jokes and names of shit that are hidden in the background that they don't even like call attention to. Like one of the diners that they pass says like now serving second breakfast, and that joke just warms my fucking boomer heart, dude. I love it so much.
It's so good.
I love it. And like this second viewing, I was intentionally just like looking around in the background, you know, just for the names of stuff, because like just the names of stores in the background that they never go into. There's just so much attention to detail, so much love that was just poured into this movie, both from like the writing side, the animation, the directing. It's all great.
But if this movie is basically D&D, I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't reuse this world with different characters if you wanted to. You could use the same characters, I think that's fine. But, you know, even if you didn't, it would work. You could make it work.
I think it'd be really cool if you set it a little bit further into the future, like a few decades, and like Ian's like the Gandalf, like the super badass old wizard.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, give it to me. I'd be all about
Barley's the one with the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another thing I wanted to point out is just the thoroughness in the animation. Because I don't know about you, but animated or live action, whatever, when if there's a movie I watch multiple times, probably the first couple of times at least, I am paying attention where the camera is pointing me, right? Because, you know, they blur edges here and there. They change focus. They have a way of drawing your attention to a part of the screen wherever they want you to look. But if I watch a movie beyond that, I start looking around the background. I start looking at the characters I'm not supposed to be focused on, right? I start looking at all kinds of things around the scene. And this movie, like, okay, like, you know, Disney, I like these movies I'm about to harp on. But it's kind of shameful. Tangled is an empty world with no one in it but the main characters. And in the first Frozen movie, there's people around, but they don't really move. They don't really do anything, and they're obscured by fog, like a fucking PlayStation 2 game or a PlayStation 3 game. Like, there's like a haze in the room.
It's like it's fucking Silent Hill.
Yeah. And... you know, there's other animated movies where characters that you're not really supposed to be focused on, like, don't even blink and stuff. There is all the camera angles in this movie are very cinematic. It's animated as if it's live action with the camera angles. And there's a scene I already kind of brought up where Ian is stitching his father's sweatshirt. The mom sits down on the couch with him. And as he's talking, there is a camera angle where he's in focus, but he's in the background. The foreground is kind of obscured by what's mostly a silhouette of the mom. You're kind of behind her, kind of looking between her arm and her leg with the way she's sitting, kind of like looking through her lap. But her face is obscured in darkness at the top of the screen, and she's blinking regularly. And it's a detail that doesn't even need to be there because you can't even fucking see it hardly. But she's blinking regularly like a real fucking person would.
Another just like really minute detail that I like that they took the time to animate is later on, you know, where he has the checklist. Each of the checks is not the same. They're all just like a real person would be checking them off. You know, they can very easily animate that with the exact same check mark each time.
And
you know,
no one
it's
would
animation,
care.
And no one would ever notice. But I just happened to look at it, and each of them was a unique stroke of his pen, you know, just because they were trying to make it like the fact that they took the time to convey that and make it realistic is so cool. Dude, their hair blows my mind.
I was about to say their hair.
There's so much like they're fucking blue elves in a Disney Pixar kids movie. And someone probably spent 3 weeks just animating like hair in one fucking character in one scene, dude. It's so crazy. I wonder
how long it took this movie to render. Because there's particle effects.
Oh, God.
There's shit floating around the air.
Yeah.
They live in a mushroom. There's like fucking Last of Us spores floating around everywhere. And the other thing I was going to point out is you notice it easiest in Ian's bedroom at the beginning. When they discovered the staff and the Phoenix gem, and then they tried the spell and all that. You know how Barley has that little beginnings, that real thin goatee on his chin? When he turns his head just right, I noticed it today. When he turns his head just right and the light goes through it when he's looking to the side, that hair on his chin is blue.
Huh.
It's so
That's
thin,
crazy.
you don't even hardly notice it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, the check marks, people might notice every check mark is the same, but no one's going to care because it's an animated fucking movie, and what does it matter? Mm-hmm. But they cared.
Yeah, they care.
That shows you they cared.
Yeah. I'm always so absorbed in movies like this that are clearly passion projects, because it just makes me happy that these people were able to, put their heart and soul into this movie, and just have it, shine through in its quality. And I just really, really like it. One thing I wanted to note that I had included in my notes, is like, we've talked so much about, like how much character development that there is throughout the film, and like especially like when you have that moment at the end when they recontextualize everything. But a movie I wanted to directly compare this to, as far as what I think this does great that another Pixar movie did not do so great, is I think Inside Out is one of the most overrated films in the past like 20 years. And I know someone is hunting me down over the internet right now, just trying to murder me for saying that, but I do not like that movie, and I think it's incredibly oversold.
They're making their checklist with each check mark is a different check.
Yeah, I believe you felt the same way about it. I cannot recall if you liked Inside Out, but
I've never seen it.
I did not like it, and
Christina saw it, and she didn't understand what everyone cared about. She didn't care for it. I don't think she hated it, but she was just like, okay, why do people like this so much?
Yeah, and part of the problem with it probably was that I saw it several months after everyone had been talking it up all this time, and I went and watched it expecting it
inescapable.
And just the way that the movie it tries to reverse engineer what Onward does well. So like the way that I've because I've talked about this movie in the past, not Onward, but speaking about Inside Out, is like I have a huge issue with how Inside Out is trying to preach its theme and then use like its theme to sell you on its characters instead of using its characters to sell you on its theme. And I think Onward does that beautifully, because you don't even fucking know the theme of the movie really until they have that moment, until you realize that it's about the relationship of the two brothers and not the quest for the dad, It's
amazing just how much they hammer that point home, and you don't notice it until they want you to.
Yeah, it's just masterclass writing. Just this, it's just such fucking beautiful sleight of hand that, and it's this movie boils down to like, and I love like that they emphasize this theme of like Ian is so focused on what he's been missing out on that he's missed out on what he's had the whole time with his brother. It's just such a cool little thing that you don't really see tackled too often, like especially with Disney stuff, like and it's very obvious, like with Bambi, and there's almost every fucking Disney movie before 1990 had dead parents, the familial link of parent to child has been done over and over and over again, but they've never really tackled brothers. I actually, that's one of the things I liked about Frozen, is Frozen was heavy emphasis on their relationship as sisters, which is cool. And then this was kind of like an extended plot line of that, just letting you. But the thing is that it is so cool that they hid the real theme of the two brothers within that generic Disney plot line of it all being about the parent that had died.
It's almost a commentary in a way.
Yeah, and it's just such a cool twist that I wasn't expecting such a cool thematic twist in a fucking Disney Pixar movie, and it just blew me away, and I just fucking dug the shit out of that.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I went through and wrote down a few notes as the movie went on. The reason why I think this movie warrants 2 viewings is, well, for anyone listening to this that hasn't seen it, you'll get it on the first viewing. You'll have no revelation at the end. But what got me is the second viewing. It could not be more obvious that Barley is the stand-in for as like a surrogate dad to Ian. It just could not be more obvious on the second viewing.
And you feel dumb for not realizing it the first time.
Yes. And I actually wrote down several times that it happened. Several times they drive the point home. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bullet points. And that's just the ones I got. Who knows how many there are or how many things that you could interpret as fatherly more than brotherly. The one that really stood out to me, though, is I pointed it out to you when you were here, right after we watched it the first time. His reaction to the fact that Ian has the magical gift and not himself, he could not be more proud. It's almost like Ian is his son rather than his brother. There's no jealousy. There's no nothing. He could not be more excited and proud of the fact. It's like he watched his son stand up and walk for the first time. There's an L in that word, walk. I don't know why I said walk.
The first time I watched this, like with you guys, I thought in the back of my head 1000%, because they established before that moment, that he's such a big D&D nerd. I was like, oh, they're gonna have this whole, kind of divide between them of him being jealous of his brother beginning to be, and the fact that they go the other direction and I still didn't fucking pick up on that is astounding to me.
Dude, the way his voice changes when he talks to Ian. So there's the scene when they just started on the road, and Barley's talking to the dad about how the first thing he's going to do is show him Guinevere and how he rebuilt her from the lug nuts to the air conditioner, and then, he turns it on and it's really funny and all that. But he goes from being, Guinevere, to Ian saying, is that your entire list? And he's like, list? And then he's like, yeah. And he goes, what do you got there? He's like, oh, just a list of things that, I want to do with dad, like play catch, go on a walk, stuff like that. And his tone immediately changes to, oh, that's really cool. Like, he's real, supportive and encouraging, and it's just like, hey, that's a good job. That's really cool. That's really good thinking, sport. His entire attitude changes in that moment from acting like the kind of crazy, I had a word for it in my head, just kind of crazy, just kind of out there brother to like, oh, that's really good, sport. Really, really good job.
Yeah. And Chris Pratt does a lot of that, heavy lifting just with his inflections on the way he talks.
Yes.
It's a great performance.
It shows up again in the Heart's Fire scene when Ian gives up trying to levitate the Coke can, and he just keeps yelling over and over, "From your heart's fire!" And he gives up, and he just goes, "Hey, it good start." That's all you can do when you're trying to, teach your kid to ride a bicycle and they get pissed off and walk off. All you can do is be like, well, hey, that was a good try. When you're ready, we'll go again. And that's just kind of the way he's talking to him in those moments. Yep. It goes right over your fucking head the first time.
It totally does. It totally does. I'm happy that it happened because it made me enjoy the movie more.
Yeah.
But I felt so dumb on second viewing that just all of this shit that they just serve up on a silver platter for you just doesn't register, because you just take it at face value. You just take it as it's a Disney Pixar movie. They're on a quest to, see their dad, and hijinks ensues. But you're watching a totally different movie than you're actually watching.
I'm gonna watch
which is so
cartoon.
cool too, because the theme of not understanding, like what you're present for, perfectly parallels with Ian not realizing this wonderful relationship that he has with his brother.
It couldn't be more meta, and you're seeing
so good.
You're seeing that relationship play out.
So good.
You're watching it play out, and you still don't get it. Just like who? Just like Ian.
Yeah, it's fucking us, dude. Like, just like the writing on this. It's just so good.
The other one that I wanted to point out of all the bullet points that I had was after he made the invisible bridge and walked across, the way he looks at him and the way he says this when Ian says, "I needed that rope." And he's like, "Oh, but did you?" And walks off. That's the reaction my dad basically had to me when he took my training wheels off my bicycle, dude.
Yeah.
Like, no, I needed those. Did you?
Just that subtle dad troll that only a dad can do.
Yeah. That was the other one. Like I said, I've got several of them. I don't want to go through the whole list. I was just curious, so I was writing them down as they happened.
Yeah.
But those were the standouts. Did you notice? I didn't notice this until tonight. When he shows up to pick him up from school, it's the Rise to Valhalla soundtrack playing as he's driving Guinevere.
Oh, is it?
It is.
That's pretty dope. Let's talk about Guinevere. We gotta talk about Guinevere.
Okay, dude. Is there any better supporting character in any movie you've seen than the fucking van?
Dude, I see the van. I see the fucking tires popping and the gallop happening. Oh my god! And then the dude, like the camera angles as that fucking van is just. I also saw an awesome little bit of background foreshadowing that I don't know if you've seen. When they are first approaching the mountain, that they end up using Guinevere to lower the rocks. There's a sign in the background that says "Danger, falling rocks." I don't know if you've noticed that. I just love that. But the camera angles as they do they do like a POV shot from like the outside of the driver's side, but it's like fixed to the car, like they're filming a fucking John Wick action moment. And I'm like, what is this movie? It's awesome.
The camera angles in this movie are set up as if it's live action. Every single one of them. It's amazing.
I love it.
Guinevere is a fully fleshed out character, dude. We get her origin story, right? She's carrying them along their journey. She helps save them from the pixie dusters when they flip on the air conditioner. And like, she can't act on her own, but she can help when they let her, right? And then we run from the cop center. Ian learns how to drive, basically, and she protects them through that, you could say. And then we have a character death. Guinevere doesn't make it, dude. Like, yeah, it's weird. The van is one of the greatest supporting characters I think I've ever seen. It's got so much character in itself, and it's another masterwork in how to set up something. It's how to foreshadow something, because how many times did we hear Barley talk about Guinevere and you did not roll your eyes?
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, it just keeps talking about how, from the lug nuts to the air conditioner, or I can't wait to show Dad Guinevere, or I fixed her up myself. Like, he talks about it like 8 different times. And then we get the salute and the parking tickets and the galloping and the music.
The parking tickets.
And
then they fucking yeet the parking tickets out on an angle directly behind the van so that you see it just like, it's like center frame and it just bursts out left and right sides of the frame. It's so good.
Careens into the mountain and blocks the cops away. Oh,
yeah.
I did also want to point out in that same scene, he goes from being dad back to being brother, because he's like, I can't believe I'm running from the cops. Oh, you're not running from the cops. You're running from our mom's boyfriend. That's
and they round a corner and 12 other police cars have joined the chase. Like, okay, now you're running from the cops.
You're running from the cops. But that was totally something that, a brother would say more than anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Barley's flipping back and forth in the roles. But,
Barley is the best fucking brother of all time.
Oh my god, Barley's just one of the greatest characters, man.
He's the freaking best, dude.
They frame him the entire movie as if he's just kind of a loser, and when everything
it's all based around him being basically a 20-something D&D nerd that still lives at home, and that's kind of the foundation of because it's just like a. Kind of just like this societal, thing that everyone kind of looks down on. Yeah, exactly. It's a stigma about what he just happens to be really into D&D. There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah, and he, when everything is recontextualized, it's not that much of a leap to infer that it kind of seems like he's given up his future, or at least it's on hold. To basically be man of the house, to be there to support his mom, and to be father to Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not that big of a stretch. And the thing that is beautiful about that is, because of stigmas and because of society, we are quick to judge people like we have this person figured out.
Yeah.
I've known this person, or I've seen this person for all of 5 minutes, and I know exactly who they are and why they are the way they are. And that is, sometimes you may be right, but that's not always true. There's more to the story. People are complex. There's always more to people than what you just know about or see on the surface. And Barley, I feel like you could write a dissertation on Barley, dude. Like, God, fuck this movie. He
sacrifices his beloved van just to continue their quests.
Yes. Okay, honest answer. Until Barley says it in the movie, had you forgotten that he too wants to see the dad? Until he looks over his shoulder and looks at Ian and is like, I want to see him too. Were you as surprised as Ian when he says it?
Yeah, because they do just such a great job of misdirecting you with the people they happen to be using as the perspective character, I guess.
Because Barley is so focused on getting Ian to see their father that's just kind of the way you write him off again.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment after they have this big argument, and he just turns over his shoulder as he's tying their dad's shoelaces and goes, I want to see him too. And the look on Ian's face is like he had never thought of that.
Yeah. That's because, and you kind of, because the thing is Ian is just really embarrassed by Barley because of those same types of stigmas you were talking about. He was super embarrassed at the school, because he had fucking, Guinevere over there.
If you like
he was
cake,
basically
like I like cake, then you can come over to my place where I have cake.
Okay, don't say dude, don't say it. Yeah, he's like he's so fucking meek. He's having to coach himself, and he has buzzwords he's gonna use for an upcoming conversation because he's just so awkward. Yeah,
I didn't get to see it, but another detail that's in this movie. I didn't get to figure this out, and I have a feeling, knowing my children, I'll be watching this movie again a couple times at least in the future, so I'll look for it then. But remember at the beginning of the movie, after he talks to the guy at the fast food restaurant about that knew his dad in college, and just kind of makes his list, like be bold, speak up more, learn to drive, all that.
Yeah.
I noticed that the be bold and stand up for yourself or whatever, happen in the same order, and they're like the first two on the list. Mm-hmm. So when he's talking to the Manticore, both of those happen in that scene, and both of those happen again later, with Barley when he's having the argument with Barley. But it's it seems like that list is playing out as the journey goes on in the order he wrote it down. But I didn't get to verify that.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not catch that, if that's true.
Because the first thing he does is be bold, and then he starts standing up for himself, and then it's it just seems, I know those were the first two, and then I don't know, something distracted me. I watched it with my kids today, so I didn't get to see further down the list as he was writing it. I just remember looking back up, and we've moved on from the list he was writing down. And I was like, crap. So I just, Haley gets upset if I back it up too many. So
Yeah, if that is true, it would not surprise me in the slightest, just because of how much layering and how careful they were with the structure of everything. It's just all fantastic.
Had you noticed that his list was playing out with Barley, the stuff he wanted to do with his dad? Like the playing.
No, I didn't pick up on that at all.
Because they show you that list, it's full screen for a moment.
They remove all the characters several times just to zoom in on the fucking list, and I still didn't pick up on that.
And then it plays out in front of you, and you realize at the same time he does, and that's when he's crossing shit off he's never going to get to do with his dad now. And is it the driving lesson first that he stops and realizes? And then it does the flashback to, "You'll never be ready, merge!"
Merge! I fucking love that scene so much.
All right, well, you shrank me. My wallet's still small. We went to the same one.
Oh my god, dude. When he realizes Ian thinks he's a screw-up because of the magic failing, it's devastating.
Yeah, because the whole crux of the spell is that since the whole spell was a lie, you have to tell the truth or the magic comes apart. So when he starts lying, he starts being revealed slowly. First his ear, then his hand, then his leg. Yeah.
It's rough.
That was rough. And then I like how we move on from that with the dad is the one that brings it back in, right? With the dancing scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of cuts the tension.
Yes. And that was an amazing use of a character that you can very easily forget about. But
I also just always really like I really like the character detail of him having purple socks.
Yes.
Because you have to have an incredible amount of confidence to be a grown-ass man sporting purple socks.
Right.
And that is exactly what Ian is seeking. That idea of being so comfortable with yourself and so confident that you can just sport purple fucking socks in public every day and don't give a fuck. And then like that, using that as the kind of like carryover with him being just legs for most of the movie.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful idea, and it's so simple. There's so much to the movie that is just so obvious and so simple, yet it never feels obvious or simple in the slightest to me.
The dad is such a great character. It's why I like the intro to the movie. One note that I had was, if you remember that intro where we're introducing the world, we're explaining magic, and then technology came along. That's all narrated by the dad. Yeah,
and it's also a callback to Lord of the Rings. They have like that super epic music, and you have like the narrator kind of breaking down the universe. Just like
there's big epic swells in the music and stuff.
It's also really cool too. In the intro, they all the spells the wizards are using are actually the same spells that Ian uses later. It's pretty cool.
Voltaire Thunderspear. So one thing that I had was I noticed that is word for word the dad's letter to the kids that Ian reads out loud. And I just wonder if one of those was added later. I feel like it would almost be the intro to the movie. Well, because it's just weird to me that we get it from the dad and then we get it again from Ian word for word. But either way, I like the intro to the movie being narrated by the dad because we don't get a lot of the dad, and you don't notice it's the dad until that heartbreaking scene with the tape recorder and him having this practiced conversation with his dad, and that's when you recognize the voice. That, and it helps that, like I said, the letter is word for word, the intro to the movie. So I just almost wonder if one of those was added later. Surely you wouldn't write that in there at the same time.
There's no telling. This movie probably went through so many different renditions.
Oh, there's no telling. There's probably 200 versions of this script.
No telling. And especially, movies get made up a lot on the fly, and they don't have the same type of input from a separate department the way like animation would, So animation probably has to be revised even more than a regular movie, which already has to be revised, like when you hear the stories of just like how much of like the first Avengers movie was just kind of like Joss Whedon making shit up on the fly and like ad-libbing from character and actors as their characters and shit, like there's just so much that goes into it. You never know.
Yeah. One of my favorite characters we haven't mentioned yet. We should talk about the Manticore.
Yes, we should talk about the Manticore. Manticore's pretty badass. I love her. I love the scene when she's breaking down the curse by busting open her fucking shirt sleeves with her biceps and showing the tattoos. That's one of my favorite scenes with her.
Just tears out the sleeve. It will arise as a mighty beast, and then
she
tears off the other one, and there's her sword.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, it's so good. But I also love that her name is Corey. Is the name she's going by?
I totally didn't catch that joke until I think you pointed it out to me. And I was like, huh.
Yeah. I wish for an audience with the Manticore. Oh, Manticore! And there's the guy in the costume.
Oh, yeah, the mascot guy.
Yes, and then he's like, no, I mean, like, the real Manticore? Oh, Corey? She's over there. The first time I heard that, I bust out laughing, and the Manticore goes by Corey now. It's so good, and, like, her, like, claws, her deadly sharp claws are painted pink and stuff.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and then when that realization, when like Ian like makes her realize how she's been living her life, and she's like,
the quote,
I've been living a lie.
Yeah, when he catches her in the freaking quote that she has on a plaque on the wall.
Yeah, she just stares at it, and the guy walks up. Table 32 says that the mozzarella sticks are cold, and she just hits him with fire. And he just slowly backs away.
Who's ready for a birthday cake? Yeah,
oh God.
I love her character arc too. And it's just it's another cool. It's like a subplot and like a sub theme is like, you know, people becoming complacent and kind of like losing who they were and like what made them special and everything. Like the thing with her not being able to fly, the pixie dusters not being able to fly, and then throughout the course of the movie, them all, you know, kind of getting their groove back, and it's a cool little through line of the movie.
I also like how she's been all comedy up until the end, that you don't expect her to be as effective as she is, dude. The very first thing she does is cut the wings off the fucking dragon.
Oh, did that see when she kicks up the dust to make the cover so she can then do like the fucking X-Wing maneuver to head up, and she's a complete badass.
Yeah, and this is like probably decades. I don't know how long Manticores live, huh? Like how many years has it been since she's been adventuring? Mm-hmm. And she throws out her back in the fight, and she goes back to being comedy at that point. But up until that moment, like, dude, how dangerous was she? Like, no wonder when they went to meet her the first time, fucking Barley was on his knees. Like, your dominance, we're seeking a Phoenix gem? Like, you know, like, you get it now.
We gotta talk about the dragon.
Yes, we
gotta
do.
talk about the dragon.
I wanted to go out talking about the dragon.
Let's talk about the fucking
This is one of my favorite dragons, dude. One of my favorite dragons ever.
The school bell gets me, dude.
It will rise up as a mighty beast. It's a rock dragon. And then it's the face of the fucking school mascot. And then the roar is the school bell.
When the eyes shift down into the angry face is a cinematic achievement in its own right.
Oh my God. So I wrote this down at the very beginning of the movie. When he's going to school, the camera cuts to the dragon mascot painted on the side of the building.
Uh-huh.
And then you hear the first bell saying first period.
Nice. I did not catch that. That's a good, cool little detail.
And then you hear that bell like 8 different times as he's going throughout his day. And then the next time you hear it, it's the fucking dragon's roar.
Mm-hmm. So good. How cool is it that the end of their quest is back at the school?
Right?
That was a shock to me.
Because then you're like, oh my God, he is a screw up.
Yeah. And dude, like talking about like the like expert fucking setup. The centaur the fact that the YouTube video that was just a complete joke about Barley being a D&D nerd is super important setup to the climax of the movie is really cool.
That emotional moment. Okay, so the emotional moment in this movie is a 1-2 punch just before the dragon shows up. He's sitting there with his dad's lower half crossing off his list, realizes his brother. And then he gets up with his dad and he's literally running back to Barley after having this huge fallout with him. where he said some horrible things to him. We cut back to Barley. How emotional is it that he's vindicated when he sees the Phoenix Gem?
It's awesome.
The sounds that he vocalizes, just like he can't form words. He looks like he's about to cry when he sees it. And he picks it up, and the way he holds it all gingerly and tender, and the way he's looking at it, like, he was right. Through this whole movie, he was fucking right. This stuff was real. It did exist. And everything he said about the quest and the gauntlet, like, he vindicated himself. He's not a screw-up. Everything paid off in the end. He knew exactly what he was talking about the whole time. And the entire movie, you're just like, oh, this fucking nerd. You know? And that's the two. That's punch number 2.
Oh, first of all, the lead into that though, the specific segment of that scene that you're talking about beforehand, where he's reading in the list, the fact that it's share my life with him.
Yes.
And it's a double entendre of him, like sharing his life story with his dad, but then when he realizes that it was sharing, like literally the life that he had shared growing up with his brother, I was like, I'm on the verge of getting tears, when I'm watching that. And like this,
I also like Barley's reaction to, Mom and Corey are taking on the rock dragon curse folk thing, and they're up on the hill. They've got the dad's lower half there, and he's sticking the Phoenix Gem in the staff as Ian is like, Barley, about what I said. And he's like, no time, do the spell. We got to get to Dad. Like, forget it. Like, forget everything. This is go time. Focus.
You're right.
Yeah. Because, he is owed an apology in that moment. And his reaction is just, there's no time. Look at the sun. Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes down to it, after everything, and after his backstory of having one chance to say goodbye to his dad and not going in because he was afraid, and then you find out that's why he vowed to never be afraid of anything ever again, and that's why he acts the way he does. His reaction is, you stay here, I'll go distract it. Say hi to Dad for me, before Ian stops him. It's like, my God, he's willing to just lay down Ian does not deserve Barley. Like, he's gonna have some work to do to end up deserving Barley as a brother.
Yeah, because Barley is the best fucking brother in the history of brothers, dude.
Dude, he's one of the best guys in the history of guys.
Yeah,
he's a solid bro.
He is the best, and I love him. But dude, the fucking line that gets me the most out of everything is, "I never had a dad, but I always had you."
Oh,
that's when I'm about to fucking lose it, dude. Oh,
yeah, that's when my lip starts to quiver, and then the other thing that they fucking do that is amazing, and I'm going to talk about the dragon fight here in a minute. I want to talk about this. When they show the dad all from Ian's perspective inside the rubble, you never move over to their location. You never even see the dad's face. You know what he looks like because of the poster board in Ian's room. But you kind of hear him laugh a little bit as he's talking to Barley, but that's all of his voice you can hear. And you just see everything from Ian's perspective. No one's helping him out of the rubble. They could, but you see it all from his perspective. They keep it there, so you know as much as Ian does still. This whole movie, you've known exactly as much as Ian does. And they keep that through line. And that moment when the dad hugs Barley, and Barley has that moment of hesitation before he puts his arms around him, and then he fades away in his arms. And then when he's talking to Ian, and he says, oh, he wanted me to give you this, and he gives Ian the hug, and Ian has the exact same reaction. He hesitates for a moment, and then he hugs Barley back, exactly the way Barley did with the dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh my God, like all of this is so beautifully done. And it is so well handled, because it's kind of one of those things like, God, the best example I have, you're not there yet, is in a book that we both bought that I read. I don't think you finished yet. But,
which book series is that, of curiosity?
Project Hail Mary.
Oh, okay. I haven't finished
there's
it yet.
something that's handled very well in that also that's kind of akin to this, but it's just like, what were we gonna do when we got to the dad, right? What would the point be? So how do we handle it to just minimize like fucking up the entire movie in this one moment? We keep it all in Ian's perspective.
It's a genius idea because I thought I would have bet my life savings they were going to cut to show the conversation because a Disney movie would always do that. You know, a Pixar movie would always do that. And the fact that they don't, and then it plays in to the sacrifice portion of it, of that, you know, like Ian kind of redeems himself being a shit by letting, you know, his brother say goodbye.
I never had a dad, but I always had you. Mm-hmm. So you stay. Yeah, I'll go. You say goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It gets me, bro.
Also, we're talking about details that are in the background. If you watch Barley as the rock dragon is climbing up behind him, he's like 5 feet from him. Barley has this look on his face like, don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around. And like his eyes will squeeze shut and his shoulders are kind of, he's just like, don't turn around, don't turn around. And it's right fucking there about to just clobber him.
Mm-hmm. I also like the way Ian fights like a badass when he has all of his powers kind of combined. And just like the idea of him growing the splinter of the staff into the full-grown staff by using the spell is super cool.
On a personal level and an emotional level, I want the dad's staff. That was my dad's staff. It's the only thing from him I have. But as a character standpoint, as a character growth standpoint, he's not going to come into his own, I think, without losing the dad's staff. I think that's what solidifies it and shows you that he's not the same Ian he was, is pulling out the splinter. The thing that's been a joke through the whole fucking movie, pulls out the splinter, grows it into a staff of his own, born from his father's staff, but his own. That detail, the more I've considered it and the more I've thought about it over repeated viewings, the more I love that almost insignificant detail of, well, he needed a staff. But no, it's more than that. It's very representative of where the character is now at this point. And it's almost poetic that it's from the dad's staff, but it's his own.
Man, there's no more of a defining like thing that is Geoff crack than insignificant details being really important details that you don't realize in the time. Just fucking eat that shit up, dude. Like all the little tidbits throughout the entire movie that you just take at face value that you don't realize what you're watching, and that is always just the coolest bits of writing to me, is just how much you can layer shit and just have sleight of hand and have it in fucking like with the checklist, you know, just literally taking up the entire goddamn screen and it still goes over your head. That's just like chef's kiss, man. Love it.
There's other subtle details, too, that I've noticed over time. Like, you know how it seems like magic doesn't really have much of a cost? But if you look, anytime after he uses magic, he usually kind of goes and sits down. And then at the end of this fight, especially when I talk Heart's Fire, man, that death under spear, like desperately trying to save his brother.
Yeah.
And just blows half of the dragon away with it in one shot. And then, you know... I keep wanting to say Excelsior, but that's not right at all. What was the spell that he sped the fucking sword through the core and then passes out?
Yeah,
like, he just totally passes out after using all the magic back to back rapid fire. He just goes down.
I also like that they had the mom help out in the sword fight. She
I am a mighty warrior.
Man, that sword starts. Yeah, that sword is like taller than she is. And she's just wielding that shit, running up the back tail of the dragon like she's a fucking Dark Souls character, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And she's doing the same workout move she was doing. She's got the sword, and the workout music starts. She pulls off the glasses slowly and goes, I am a mighty warrior. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I want to hug her for that line delivery.
She's fantastic in this.
Oh, my God.
She's great. I'm so excited to see what they do with her character in the future Marvel stuff, dude.
Oh God, I know.
I need it.
When she showed up, I was so shocked.
Yeah, didn't they keep that? I think I actually heard or read that to keep her inclusion on that a secret, they were actually having her moved into the sets, covered up with like a cloak, like literally making her look like a fucking Jedi. just to get her on set without being seen, because of how easy shit leaks all the time on big movies and TV shows like that.
Everything that I've heard says we were supposed to be introduced to her in Black Widow, then that got delayed like a full year.
Yeah.
So this was like supposed to be our second time seeing her. Because I think in that trailer you see U.S. Soldier in that Black Widow trailer.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, especially on that one that starts out with the Stan Lee voiceover. It's in there because you see a black suit with a helmet, and he kicks something like it's a fucking skateboard, and it's a shield that comes up that he catches.
Isn't Black Widow in the past though? Isn't it a prequel?
We don't know how much of it is, because I think this is a totally different movie, but I think the title is referring to two different Black Widows. I don't think it's referring to Scarlett Johansson.
Which would totally make sense. But that's neither here nor there. We need to get back to the Onward.
I know. But I just wanted to point out that we didn't know.
Yeah.
It could be like Captain America, the first Avenger, where like the middle part of the movie is in the past and the beginning and the end was modern day.
Yeah, true.
Anyway,
but
Onward.
Did you have any other tidbits or anything else in your notes that you want to touch on?
We need to put this podcast an O for Onward because we're out of time.
I'm through on my notes. So what else did you have?
I think that we've basically covered all the major points here or there. So I think
it's great. Watch it.
I've got all I want to say. Please
watch it.
I hope whoever listens to this that you've seen the movie before coming here. Because you've done yourself a disservice. You need to go back and, what's the Jim Carrey movies? Eternal Sunshine
of the Spotless Mind. I have actually considered putting that on this show because I would like to have an excuse to watch it.
I've never seen it, but I understand the premise. And you need to go do that to yourself if you listened to this before seeing the movie.
Yeah. I think even knowing her, I mean, obviously it'd be made infinitely better. I still think this movie is fantastic. I watch it again, knowing exactly all that happens, and still find myself enjoying it. I think it's just a really fucking well put together movie.
I notice a new detail every time I watch it.
Yeah,
I notice a new detail still. I've probably watched it 300 times now because I've got 2 kids. And I notice a new detail about it every single time.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier about how, you could use this as a foundation for additional stories. At the very least, make a fucking Disney Plus TV show out of it. That would be so easy to do.
This world is so dynamic and so alive and so well put together and thought out in a single movie. Don't waste it. Don't let it die with one movie. I want to see more of this world, whether it's the same characters or not. I'm down for the same characters. I love all of these characters. But even if it's not the same characters, give me more of this world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Anyway, that's Onward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Go check it out.
If you took nothing away from this podcast in an hour and 13 minutes, it's great. Go check it out.
I just love the fact that just this fucking cartoon movie about elves that made 2 grown-ass men tear up. That shows you quality right there, bro.
Onward, I pretty much cry at the end of every time, and Frozen 2, which is kind of on my list to do someday on this podcast.
Yeah, every fucking animated movie I watch is basically because Ron forces me to, and I'm glad that you do, because I would never have probably ever watched this movie had you not made me watch it. So thank you for that.
I recently listened to some people on YouTube for about 45 minutes as they were playing a video game for no reason, bash the hell out of Titan AE, and I really liked that movie, and that made me put it on my list for future also.
I watched that when it came out 300 years ago, so I don't remember anything at all about it. So it would be an interesting revisit for sure.
Just look up the cast. It's worth watching alone for the cast.
I don't remember if I liked it or if I disliked it, but I do remember coming out. And I do remember seeing it, so that would make for an interesting discussion, I think.
It's got a lot of the whole self-discovery stuff we talked about in Onward in it going on it, and not as well done, not as fleshed out, not as thorough, but it's got kind of that theme there with the main character, which, if I recall correctly, is Matt Damon. So there's actually 2 roles I like him in.
I believe you are correct.
And Bill Pullman is one of the major characters in it as well.
I like Bill Pullman a lot.
He needs to do more animation. He's real fucking good in that movie.
He's good at everything, dude. He just is very choosy about his projects for some reason. I just wish he would be more shit.
I'm just really glad he did that final season of Torchwood because he was fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. I need to go back and watch that for sure. Let's talk about what we're doing next week though, or next episode, I should say. So we had talked a bit about the way we had been planning our franchise coverage. If anyone has listened to our previous episodes over Pacific Rim, that was our first venture into it, just kind of tackling a franchise as a whole instead of doing one-offs. We are venturing back into doing we're not going to be doing a full summer of franchise stuff like we had previously mentioned, but we are going to be doing occasional run, like just a full franchise run. Our next one, it's going to be over Indiana Jones. Small little indie film you may or may not have heard of, but we're going to be covering. This is groundbreaking fucking news, dude. We're back to 4-episode month, bruh.
Bad.
First time since Friends and Family month, bruh. That's a whole lot of mediocre coverage of a great film franchise.
I'm just over here in my corner. Don't mind me.
No, you're good. You're good. We're covering all 3 of the original films and everyone's favorite cinematic masterpiece.
It's gonna be a doozy.
We're going to be covering Crystal Skull, bitches.
I liked it.
I didn't hate it. I am fascinated to see what Geoff in 2021 watching that movie again for the first time. When the fuck did Crystal Skull come out?
Hold on. Do not know.
Crystal Skull.
I liked it. I haven't seen it since theaters, but I liked it except for the Shia LaBeouf with the monkeys.
13 years ago. God damn, I'm so old.
Oh my god.
Fucking hell.
Why do I remember as much about that movie as I do? Do I just think I remember a lot about it?
Yeah, we were talking about this in the green room and just hypothesizing about what the fuck will become of our opinions of that film. Because I was indifferent about it. You liked it. And we will have to see if those opinions stay the same or if anyone flips. It's gonna be fast. Dude, especially on the heels of having watched all 3 of the original movies in quick succession leading up to it, that would probably influence opinions on it as well.
Knowing me, I would have done that before I went to go see it, and I feel like you would too. Get hyped up for it. I know I would have gone on a Indiana Jones bend.
I don't typically do that. Like I don't do lead up binges quite as much as you do. I do it when I can. Typically, like especially if it's like a long running series. Like I know you and Christina have just like binged the entirety of the 50 fucking film long MCU leading up to shit. I never do that. If the new Captain America movie's coming out, I'll watch like a couple of the Captain America movies, or like if John Wick comes out, I'll watch like the first couple of John Wick movies, like I did with like the third one of that. But I'm not gonna sit down and watch like 20 fucking Marvel movies just because like a new Avengers movie's coming out. I never fucking do that. I usually dedicate my time to seeking out new stuff more so than rewatching older stuff. That's me.
We haven't done that in a while, but we did start over recently.
Yeah.
So we just got through phase 1. We're moving into Iron Man 3 next.
It's exhausting now because it's just been going on for so long.
We're also not doing like 2 a night like we used to or whatever. We're watching like one every other week or something.
Yeah, that's why you guys used to marathon that shit. And I was like, damn, that's a commitment that I...
When's the last time you saw the first Avengers movie?
I think I actually... Did I rewatch it again? I have actually coincidentally rewatched several of the Marvel movies over the past couple months.
Yeah, you jumped around in a real strange fucking order.
Well, because I didn't... Okay, so I watched... Oh, God, what was it? Was it WandaVision? Yeah, WandaVision came out, and then that got me kind of like more in the mood for Marvel shit,
Yeah.
And I specifically wanted to go back and rewatch all the ones that had Wanda and Vision in it. So, like, I started by watching just, fucking... the second Avengers movie, and then Infinity War and Endgame, and then I hop back, and then eventually, before what I knew was happening, I'd rewatch like 80% of the goddamn movies in a really stupid order.
So I just bouncing around.
Yeah, it was
wherever you landed.
But the cool thing is, like, my enjoyment wasn't like reduced. It was just a really weird order to watch it. But that's kind of cool, Just
if
like
the MCU was a target on the wall. You were not a direct shot. You were a fucking ricocheting bullet that just bounced around the room, bouncing off the target several times.
Yeah, I put the fucking like CD on shuffle for the MCU and just had this like really fucking weird order to watching them. But yeah, I don't remember if I watched the first Avengers again because it's probably the one I've seen the most out of all of them.
Well, of course.
So I might have skipped it, but I can't remember. But what was your follow-up point?
It's starting to show some age, dude.
The first Avengers movie?
It's starting to show some age.
How so?
Everything from phase 1, but especially it because it's the most intensive with like CGI and special
CGI,
effects.
yeah.
And
so it is I like plenty of movies from like the 80s that have really shitty special effects. It's not like a complete deal breaker.
But there's also like I had forgotten like some of the directions that the MCU could have gone at that point, and they allude to things that never happened. And it's an interesting case study going back to it. It's still my favorite, but yeah.
I think Endgame is my favorite now. It's tough though.
Endgame should be mine. It's a better movie, but I'd never seen anything like the first Avengers. Thought for. So it will always hold a special place. I
still can't believe that movie even exists. It
shouldn't, but it does.
And just the fact that it was fucking I would have been satisfied with an Avengers movie half as good as what we got, and just the fact that it's as good as it is, even with like the stumbling blocks of it fucking came out like what year did Avengers come out? Was it 2010? 12?
I want to say
it's 2012.
I want to say 2012. Probably in May. It seems like the Avengers movies always come out around my anniversary.
Yes, the first Avengers was 2012. It came out May 4th.
My anniversary is May 1st. My feelings on the entire MCU as a whole was summed up perfectly by the Rage Select podcast. The Rage Select Geoff summed it up one day by saying, never forget, people, that the Avengers movies that you know and love were a total fucking accident and a fluke that never should have happened and somehow happened and have kept rolling and kept their steam. The entire MCU happened in a way, by an accident. They didn't know what they were making when they made Iron Man. They didn't know how Phase 1 was going to launch 22 movies over 11 years.
Yeah, and completely changed the way Hollywood will work for all time.
Yeah, but they had no idea what they were doing when they did it. It's all a fluke. It's all an accident. It's all a one-off.
The 13 years later, we'll be having WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki television series, and they would be like some of the biggest hits of the year. But we need to get. How do we get on the topic of the MCU? We need to get the fuck out of here. Oh, okay. I think it was like fucking
Onward.
six degrees of Pixar, Kevin Bacon in the MCU. I don't know.
John Ratzenberger's
but
probably in there somewhere. That's probably how.
Absolutely, Centaur legs and all.
Barley.
I don't know if he plays that character. I just want to make a Centaur joke. Check in if you want to. You have time. We're going to be doing probably somewhat shorter episodes, which for me and Ron means like an hour and a half instead of 3, I guess. We're going to be doing 4 episodes that month. All 4 of the Indiana Jones films. So go check those out in advance if you want to kind of follow along with us. And if not, it's Indiana Jones. I'm sure people can follow along. It's the gist of it. And I've assuredly seen, at the very least, the original, like, really good ones. If you would like to follow the show more, check us out on Twitter at SPR Filmcast. You can also, we don't tag this on all the time, but I should tag it on more often. If you have any questions, comments, or anything that you wanted to have answered on the show for Ron and myself, email us. Screenplay Rewind at gmail.com. We would love to have a little like FAQ portion of some extent on the show at some point. Super fun. Bobby, email us something. Fuck, I don't just somebody.
Anything. Get something going.
Something.
Did you know we have a 5-star review on iTunes?
We do?
Uh-huh.
Wait, that wasn't you?
No, it was my wife.
It was your wife?
That's why I never brought it up.
That's great.
It's been there for a couple of months now.
I think, dude, how funny would it have been if she gave us like a 3? It's like, I respect your honesty.
That Ron guy has no idea what he's talking about.
He's the fucking worst. And that Geoff guy won't shut the fuck up. This podcast is terrible. Screenplay Rewind, screenplay fucking eject. Ron, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday evening at 9:30 p.m. Central Time in the U.S. Over at Ronsense.
What's your current game series you got going?
I don't know. I'm kind of in between games at the moment on Twitch. Yeah, I haven't really decided. I got a few ideas in the pipeline, but yeah, I haven't really settled anything.
We need to do another not shit-faced stream, but a mildly drinking stream. I would like to play like I think Bloodborne for a stream like that. Would be pretty fun.
Shout out to Bobby for naming that stream, because I named it Two Drunk Souls because of what he said in a text. Nice.
Bobby is immortalized.
Yeah.
In Ron Sin's TV canon.
I don't think I did that in that stream because I was too drunk.
I think you named the actually crediting him for it. Yeah. We were very, very drunk, so we apologize. We love you, Bobby. He knows it. He knows it. It's an unsaid thing. Bobby's our barley. Bobby. Oh, that's great.
I can only picture him chained to a fountain now.
You can follow me on Twitter. God, what is my handle? G Miller SPR, I think. Fuck, I don't know.
You change it every other week, so
I change it. Well, I hate. Never name your kids fucking first name Geoff Jeff. It's a fucking nightmare. I just hate spelling my name. I just fucking hate it, dude. It's so irritating. So G Miller SPR is a lot easier to tell people to follow. So follow me there, and if you have enjoyed the show, please share it out to your friends and family. That is a great way to help us spread
that
word
helps us more than you think it does. So does we don't plug this either. Ratings and reviews wherever you can leave them. Whatever your podcast host of choice is, iTunes probably more than anything, but ratings and reviews gets us into the new and noteworthy section of places where we can be more organically discovered. So that helps us tremendously.
Yeah, because it's so hard for any podcast. Even there are very good podcasts out there that just can't grow just because there's just too many fucking podcasts.
Like this one.
Yeah. Well, he said this was good. You're funny. Yeah. Hey, we kept the podcast under an hour and a half, so that's pretty poggers. It's pretty poggers. But yeah, we're getting the fuck out. We're at that hour and a half.
I still got intros and outros to edit to it.
Ron's gonna throw in just unnecessary intros and outros just to spite me.
1 second overtime.
God damn. We gotta go. Bye. Ron and I are grown ass men, just like, oh, it's so sad. Just fucking
My heart is so full.
Oh God.
It's so full. It hurts.
It's so beautiful.